Okay, so I'm talking about all of these. Okay, maybe this time it'll work. So I'm talking about all of these Protestant groups, and among all these Protestant groups and affiliate groups, upstart churches, and so on, they have a wide range of theories of salvation. Okay, and so on the one hand, on one side of their belief, there are churches that say the same thing as the Catholic Church. You have to belong to their church or you cannot be saved. Okay, and they base their belief on being part of their church to be saved upon what Jesus said about straight is the gate, narrow the way that leads to life, and few there be that find it. And they'll say that their church is the only true church, and that if you join their church, you found the way to eternal life, and you're on the straight and narrow way. And you're one of the few, you see. And so even though you have a small group, doesn't matter how small the group is, because you believe in their teachings, their way of doing things, you found the straight and narrow way, you will have life. Okay? And, so, and it doesn't matter the size of the church. It could be less than 100 people, but, that's the few that have found the way. There's some kind of prophet or something that rises up, and, he says that he has the way, he's found the way, and he showed it to them, and they accept him, and so they have eternal life. Well, no. That doesn't work that way. Okay, so that's the one extreme. Then on the other extreme, you have the churches that say, if you at least confess Jesus Christ before you die, then you are saved. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you actually do believe in Jesus. You just have to say you believe in Jesus. And I think some of them even say, well, as long as you say the sinner's prayer, God forgive me for I've sinned. You say that, you say, I believe in Jesus, God forgive me, please forgive me for I have sinned. You're saved and you go to heaven, right? And so that could be anybody from any church, and so it's a very liberal entrance into the church. You can sin your whole life, and in the last moment, confess Jesus and ask forgiveness, and then you have eternal life. Okay, and then you have everything in between. Now, like there's certain groups of churches, the Orthodox Protestant churches, that say, if you belong to any one of the Orthodox Protestant churches, then you'll be saved. But if you don't belong to the Protestant group of churches, so like if you're part of an upstart church, you can't be saved. All right? So, and so like every church has its own little rules about salvation within their church and their doctrinal. You have to believe certain doctrines in order to be saved, you see. And so some of the problems with this idea of salvation is the idea that you have to be saved before you die. There is no salvation after you die. Okay, so that's one of the problems. That's one of the motivating things to get people to believe before you die, is because you can't be saved after you're dead. And some of the other problems that come up with the Protestant belief is the differences of beliefs and opinions and so on. That each church would have its own little beliefs about being saved. And there's a lot of confusion. God is not a God of confusion, but there's a lot of confusion. And then the other thing is the lack of justice for the righteous. everybody agrees for the damnation for the wicked, but no matter, once again, just like in the Catholic theory, it doesn't matter how righteous you are. If you're not a member of their group, you're going to hell, and there's no compensation for the righteous. All right? The only compensation for the righteous is if you're a member of that group. Okay. So that's kind of that group of people. Well, then we come to, I grew up Mormon, and so then I want to talk just a little bit about the Mormon belief. Now, you take the current Mormon belief, okay? And this was a change that happened in my lifetime. Trust me and believe me. The current philosophy about salvation is you have to be a Mormon and you have to follow the leaders of the church, or there is no salvation. Or in their theory, there is no salvation in the highest level, the celestial kingdom of the Mormons. Okay. And if you've ever been a member of the church and got excommunicated from the church, you're a son of perdition and there is no more salvation for you. Well, obviously that's not true, because I'm no longer a member of the Mormon church and I am not a son of perdition. And I am an apostate from the leaders of the church, but then the leaders of the church are apostate from God, so I'm okay. I'm not apostate from Jesus, just apostate from the leaders of the church, okay? So, the traditional belief of the LDS does not have anything to do with being a member of the church, of a church, okay? It has to do with your relationship with Jesus, okay? Those who obtain the highest rewards in heaven are those who are valiant in the testimony of Jesus. And in order to be valiant in the testimony of Jesus, first of all, you have to have a testimony of Jesus. Okay? And second of all, then the second group are those who are good, honorable men who've lived well their lives and maybe not now, but sometime in the future receive the testimony of Jesus. And then there are those others who are saved at the very end. Okay? And everybody receives in heaven according to their works. Now that's the teachings that came from the original teachings of the Mormon Church. Of course, a lot of those teachings have been corrupted and so on. They're not exactly taught the same way that they used to be. I've seen videos about what Mormons believe, and and it's not exactly the way that it is, or the way that it used to be. It's not being taught today the way that it used to be. All right, which has a reflection on the leaders of the church who are no longer men of God. Okay, but speaking about, what about salvation after you die? Okay, so let's talk about what Jesus had to say on the subject. Let's start with verse 25. Verily, verily, I say unto you, wait a minute. Right. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they that hear shall live. Okay? Now, Jesus is talking about the dead hearing the voice of Jesus, and those that hear shall live. Okay? Now, this just kind of blows all that whole theory about no salvation after you die. Why would Jesus go to preach to the dead if there is no salvation for the dead? Why would he do that? There must be some kind of salvation, because he says, for whosoever hears him will live. For as the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given unto the Son to have life in himself. Okay? Jesus had the light of life. Even though Jesus died, he had the power to come back to life. And because Jesus has the light of life, he also has the power to give the light of life to whoever he wants to give the light of life to.